Hi. Hello, hello. All right, so we're back. Apologies for the technical issues that we've had, but we're ready, and I can tell you right now that round 13 is underway, so let's just head right into it. And here we go. We got Mark Jacobson. He's our lone undefeated player, sitting at 12-0, playing against Dan Ward, who's on 11-1, and it looks like Dan has just resolved a Thunderbreak region versus, well, a lone Obzon Falconer. Doesn't look as good when it's all by itself, does it, Gabby?
Definitely not. This Thunderbreak region's looking pretty good right here. Mark has a lot of ways to deal with this post-board, but pre-board it's kind of scary. Most of your creatures can't attack through it. Oh wow, we're seeing an outlasted Falconer.
And a Dromica's command. Whoa. Nice turn there for Jacobson. He also has, well, not an exciting follow-up with Servant of the Scale, but hey, he'll take it.
I will say that that's the first Outlast count I've seen the whole weekend. So
agree.
It's possible. We have seen that it is feasible, but
yeah,
not very common.
And it was actually pretty good there, too.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, but this is a nice follow-up here for Dan Ward. He's got Painful Truths. Now, he is under some amount of pressure, but you can see, based on the life totals in the graveyards here, that Ward was the one who's been out ahead. He's got Jacobson down to 11. Ward does have some life total to play with. So even though he's effectively taking a turn off, at least thus far, to cast Painful Truths, he could be setting himself up for a really good position on the next few turns.
Yeah, it certainly seems like Ward was under attack earlier. I see that there's a Foul Tongue Invocation in the yard, so I think at some point he must have taken damage and cleared the board at some point, because I think I see that Endless one on Jacobson's graveyard. So
agree.
He was under some pressure. His life doing pretty well because of Foul Tongue, but he's facing another kind of aggressive board right here.
He just took 5 damage, and now we see the Avatar of the Resolute come down as well.
Yeah, an Avatar coming here as a big guy. Interesting to note, too, this has reach. So
trying to figure out why that Avatar has 2 +1/+1 counters on it. It is not immediately obvious to me. But maybe we'll figure it out, or maybe I just missed something. It does happen occasionally. I know you're shocked. In the meantime, Dan Ward is down to 13 life. And it looks like he's casting another Painful Truths. Now, plan A for him was Painful Truths last turn. This turn, dominate the board, start to take over. This could get out of hand pretty quickly for him. He's down to 10.
This is a little awkward. Daniel has drawn a Radiant Flames at some point through these Painful Truths, so Radiant Flame's not looking very good right here. You can only take down the Servant, and even if you do that, you end up putting the counter somewhere else.
Thank you, chat. We figured it out together. So it gets 1 per creature that has a +1/+1 counter on it. Since he had 2, he got
per
2.
other, yeah.
Yeah. So there you go.
Chat to the rescue.
What would I do without him?
Jay's not really what Daniel's looking to do here. Especially now that this has happened. Even if the Jays had lived, he just needs to more proactively be.
How close is he to just being dead here? 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He's just dead, right?
He's just dead.
And there's Nissa too.
All right.
Just in case there was like
any doubt in your mind.
Anything, yeah.
Yeah, this is an attack with all, and that's just going to be game.
Wow. All right. Well, I gotta say, I would have figured that Dan Ward, after that first Painful Truths, would be in a good position to win that game, given that he was facing not a super scary board state, and given his deck choice here. But that wasn't the case. Whoa! What is this, Mark Jacobson?
He's got a sideboard guide.
But like in like a school portfolio. Look at this.
Oh my god, I love it.
That is impressive.
Yeah.
He's rocking a Trapper Keeper.
Presumably taken out of a Trapper Keeper.
Do you remember those?
Dude, Trapper Keepers were the best.
Yeah, that seems right up your alley.
I was all about that.
Yeah.
Of course I was.
I kind of
I was all about the Trapper Keeper. No, that's really cool. What Mark is doing here is he has a sideboard guide, which you can take out in between the rounds. And you can take a look at it. Obviously, you can't have it out while the game is going on, but you can always take it out in between sideboarding and while the match isn't going on. And, I was on a podcast earlier couple weeks ago, and I was talking about sideboarding and how that's actually a very good exercise for you to do, because in the process of writing out the sideboard, you learn how to sideboard better. And so in the end, you maybe don't even really need the sideboard guide. You just like did this exercise in which you thought about your deck and how it matches up against everything else.
That's a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people maybe have felt that, like in school, where they take notes, but they don't actually go back and read them. But the act of taking the notes actually helps you remember or solidify things in your head.
So taking a look at the players' sideboards here.
Yes. Well, let's take a look at this other match real quick, too. Yeah, when we come back, you take a look at the sideboards, and I'll get us caught up on what's going on here. It looks like we've got Eric Froehlich 11-1, and up a game against Shaheen Soorani, also at 11-1. Wow, this is a nice little clash here on our side table. Shaheen is, what else? He's playing Esper. We actually did do a deck tech with Shaheen as well. I don't know if we've ran it yet. Maybe we'll get around to it. But he's pretty happy with his build, the one he's got here for this tournament. This is going to be tough, though. Eric Froehlich, of course, one of the best players in the world. He's currently ranked number 10, and he's playing Dark Jeskai here.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of Eric in the feature match this week, and he's been playing very well. Sitting at 12-1 right now, very comfortably. Getting on an empty board is pretty nice. It does meet a Silumgar Scorn, so that's not going to be too impactful. I think he might have another one in hand, so not too big of a deal. But he is running low on resources, and Shaheen has a full grip of cards at this point. He is missing land drops,
He's missing a lot of them. Yeah, he's going to fall behind quickly. Also, doesn't have double black. One of the key cards in Shaheen's deck is Grasp of Darkness. He's actually running the full 4. He found that to be really powerful as it currently sits. I'm sure if he would have seen all of these Hardened Scales decks, he might have changed his mind back to Ultimate Price. But for now, that is what he's running. He can't cast any of those.
And yeah, Grasp of Darkness is a nice addition to the Esper Dragons deck. Obviously, a little weaker against strategies that are going to go very wide, but it will be able to take care of things like Mana Gorger Hydra before it gets out of control, and that's a creature that you actively want to kill.
Yeah, this is not looking good for Shaheen here. Missing land drops for his deck is death. He's running Esper Dragons, and it is so tough to recover once you get behind on lands, especially since this is a game 2, and Eric is going to be able to position his deck to not fall for a lot of the main deck cards that Shaheen has. Monastery Mentors to play for Frolic, and it resolves, and he's just going to pass the turn back with 2 mana available.
Huge for him.
Another missed land drop here for Soorani.
Oh my god.
This is so brutal for him.
That's just tough. When you're a control deck and you're missing land drops like this, you just don't... The game just runs away from you so quickly. You need to be able to keep up with the other decks as this is going on. He had a couple... it seems like maybe his keep was a couple of lands and a couple counter spells, and that's perfectly reasonable. But without a Jace to loot and find more things, without an ability to cycle, that's just enough. And that's a match.
That's going to do it. Wow, Eric Frolic, 12-1 now.
Yeah.
With just a few more rounds to go in the Swiss. If he can hold up just for a couple more, he could find himself in the top 8 of this GP. All right, let's go back to our main match. So you were mentioning the sideboards. We saw that Mark had his extensive sideboard guide. What do you think what do you think he found in there for this matchup?
Well, I think Daniel Ward definitely wants to take the more controlling end. He has cards like Chandra Flamecaller, things like Ultimate Price, Crux of Fate, and if he wants to play the control deck, he can. He'll have the resources to do that, and Mark doesn't really have a choice but to extend into that. At a certain point, that's like the weakness of the deck, right? You need to have a really big board presence, and when you do that, then another deck can kind of prey on you in that sense. Take care of cards that will mostly sweep the board or take care of any of those things. On Mark's end, he can potentially, anticipating something like this, he could bring in Gideons if he wanted to. Valorous Stances are going to be nice for taking care of some of the bigger, more problematic creatures like Kolagon, Thunderbreak Regent, not Kalidas, but it should be pretty good at bringing him back in the game, especially with those big flyers that in the beginning he can't block, but later on with Abs and Falconer he'll be able to.
All right, Mark Jacobson in his 1-1 Endless One, looking ready to do battle here.
We did get word that Ifro kept only 1 land hand in that match that he won, where he had 6 at the very end, which is pretty interesting.
And you can see why he played out that endless one here. Here's the avatar.
Mm-hmm. Coming in with a counter. Oh, so he's going to Draconic Roar it. Reveals a Kolagon too. A nice card right there for Ward. A good way to maintain control of the board.
Curious to see if we see a card like Outpost Siege from Ward here. He's got a couple on his board.
Yeah, if he wants to go the full control route, he definitely would have brought him in.
Yeah, and you know, I think he does want to do that, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think if you have access to cards that sweep and cards that will be able to take care of this board, having access to Crux of Fate is really nice, even if it's just a one copy of, because Mark can anticipate that. And so he'll have to play knowing that there's a chance he could just play all his cards and then just get completely blown out. So he'll have to play carefully, and that does give Daniel a little bit of an advantage.
The downside, of course, to bringing in a card like Outpost Siege is that you do open yourself up to Dromoka's command from Mark Jacobson.
Mm-hmm.
And that is painful.
And that could be a reason he doesn't want to bring it in.
Yeah, he may have decided not to.
You know that Mark is going to have the Dromoka's command post board no matter what. Like, the card is just excellent in the deck, and when your creatures are big enough, you can fight, you know, the Kolagons of the world, the Thunder Breaks of the world. So
exactly.
It's definitely going to be in.
So he very well may just not want to fight that fight.
I do have to say, I saw an A+ pun earlier in chat, Marshall. Somebody said that Ifra was running low on constructed resources. So A+ to whoever said that.
Oh, you're giving A+ out that easily?
Yo, no, I am actually a harsh grader, but that was a really good
wow,
one.
So that must have been really good.
It was a good one. You know how Luis has an emote on his channel that's like an A+?
Yeah, and an apple.
Yeah, I made these emotes on my channel through Better TV.
Mm-hmm.
That's a literal F-.
You know what the worst one is though?
What?
Like in Luis's mind, the worst grade you can get is F+. Did you know that? Like if you ever want to just get him, give him an F+, and he's it stings him.
Man, I need to make a new emote.
Yeah.
You can only use him on my channel, but he gets graded pretty harshly there.
That's great.
So the hardened scales for Mark coming a little late to the party. Especially since it seems like he has a lot of lands in hand in the Dromoka's command. So without any creatures, this is kind of what we see with this deck. Not, you need to get off to a quick start, and Daniel's doing a good job controlling the board and making sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, he has killed the one non-endless one creature so far, and in fact, look at this. Gonna just endless. It just Murderous cut an endless one that it was a 1/1. That's intense.
Well, that's what he wants to do. He wants to control the board.
He wants to kill a 1/1? Like, that cannot be good news for Mark Jacobson. Dan's not going to use his last Murderous cut to kill a 1/1.
Yes, you can't be feeling good about that. I mean, he gets the read. He knows that there's, if Mark had creatures, he would be playing them out. Like, there's just no way he wouldn't be playing them. At least one. Like, maybe you have a couple and you don't want to run them all out. That's a nice find for him.
I'm still just taking that. I refuse. The only reason he played the 1/1 was just to set up the avatar.
So Daniel has an option here. He can try to take down the Mana Gorger Hydra with a Radiant Flames. However, if Mark has Dromoka's command, which I believe we think he does, you get pretty blown out. And then the Hydra's huge. So
yeah, he does have it too.
So it's a risky play, but it's kind of tempting. You want to take care of that Hydra for sure. You just burned your cut on an endless one.
Awkward.
Yeah. Looks like there's also a Kolagon in Daniel's hand, so an option he does have here would be to try to start beating down. However, he's gonna go for the play.
Going for this is not.
Oh, this is not gonna be good.
He needs more. There we go. Now he needs to do this.
Now he needs to do this.
Wait, does he?
He can prevent damage from Radiant Flames. That's fine.
If it's still on the stack. Yeah.
He can prevent damage from
All right. So now it's all of a sudden at. Should be at 5.
Should be
right?
Yeah, so it gets a counter from Radiant
2,
Flames
4.
and another 2 counters from, yeah. It is at 6. It was at 2. Was it?
Yeah, they figured it out.
Yeah.
So it's at 6, and that makes it a 7-7, and that thing is going to get huge. And all of a sudden, Dan Ward is going to need to find another murderous cut or something along those lines because his burn spells are not going to get the job done anymore. We are out of range.
Yeah, and I'm sure Daniel was worried about a sequence like that happening.
He certainly considered it.
Yeah, it's pretty, he was tanking on it. It's pretty tempting to go for the try to kill a Mana Gorger Hydra there while you still can. In this situation, though, it was really punishing because now he gets 1 spell. This is a 2-turn clock at this point. Right, so 2 more counters there and 2 counters there.
He only cast it as a X=1 there for the hanger back.
Yeah.
So he's clearly leaving something up because he could have just
for sure. He has both Valorous Stance and Dromoka's Command in hand. Wow. 2
Radiant Flames in hand.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, those Radiant Flames just do not match up well when the Hardened scale's out. The Hydra just gets too big, and that's going to do it. Wow, Mark Jacobson running away with this thing.
Yeah, that was, and that's the concern when you're trying to play the control deck against exactly this, and that was the same thing I was saying about Flaying Tendrils earlier too. It's nice. You do get to take care of some of these things, like you get to kill some Servant of the Scales that are small or an Endless one that's small. Even some of those plant tokens, but at a certain point, some of these creatures just get out of reach, and then you sit in your hand with, Radiant Flames. You could have tried a double Radiant Flames at some point, but, I mean,
I think I look back to using the Murderous Cut on the Endless one.
Yes, I think that's where the game...
I think he got a little impatient. He was at 14 life. Like, take 1 from that for the next 8 turns or so,
Yeah, I personally don't think I'm too worried about that Endless one. It's just a 2-2. It's not a big problem, and...
I think it was a 1-1, wasn't it? Just had a 1 counter on it.
Yeah, you're right,
he played
actually.
It on turn 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe a little bit of a misstep right there. Shows a little bit about...
it had to be Hydra.
Saving your removal. Yes, it had to be Hydra that really pushed him over the edge.
Looks like we may have another match. You see the names. Yeah, there we go. Let's take a look at Miguel Angel Rodriguez versus Sam Black. That does not look like Sam Black.
That does not look like Sam.
No, that's definitely not a Sam Black. That does not look like a Miguel either. I'll get this sorted out for you, though. Once again, we do apologize for our technical issues earlier today. We actually had some internet issues in the building, and that was what was preventing us from keeping the stream up.
Yeah, hopefully it's smooth sailing from here on out.
See what we can do.
That still doesn't look like Sam.
No, but this is magic at least.
Looks like we have more Hardened Scales.
That is actually Sam. It's just he's on the left.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
It's trademark Sam hoodie.
I can just tell by the way they move their cards around and
Fair
shuffle.
enough.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I think a lot of us who watch a lot of coverage or do coverage like this, you get that feel after a while. Yeah. So we'll get those names flopped around.
Wow, this Endless one's going to be a 4-4.
Yeah, that's nice. Nice little turn 3 there. Hangerback Walker's already up to 2-2. Cruising right along.
Yeah, so Miguel's playing, as we like to call it, Wooded Mardu. Which,
as you like to call it. All right, there's Silk Wrath to take down the Walker. That's nice.
Yeah, that is really nice.
That is a very clean out to that.
Yeah. It's kind of tough because you also need to take care of that Endless one. A 4-4 is actually a pretty serious clock.
It really is.
But I would assume here, if I'm Sam, I would assume that he has to have, look at those Crackling Dooms. He wants to make sure that the Hangerback Walker doesn't become like 4th Opters.
Oh,
so
yeah. And you know how quickly, I mean, just like one activation from Sam and it would exactly that.
So it looks like Miguel has boarded in, oh no, they're actually in his main deck.
What is he boarded in? Or what's in his main deck?
Languish.
Languish.
Yeah. I thought he had boarded them in, but they're actually just in the main deck.
Both players at 10-2. There was a healthy turnout for this tournament here, and you're going to need a significantly good record to make it into the top 8. I would assume that X and 2 should be good. but not lower than that.
Yeah.
Outside of maybe a couple of people. So
what I've heard from Hardened Scales players is that these matchups, the ones that have just a ton of removal, are a little difficult for them. And it's kind of the same is true for Band Company. Not in that they have removal per se, but they have a lot of ways to bounce and undo what they've been doing.
yeah.
That said, I've also heard that both matchups are favorable for both sides of the players.
Yeah, that does depend on who you ask, doesn't it?
Yes.
Everybody seems to have a
The
different
match
take.
is 60-60 in favor for everybody.
All right, here's a Siege Rhino for Miguel.
Siege Rhino's nice. Siege Rhino gets to block this Endless One.
Yeah.
If Sam doesn't have a way to pump this Endless One in some way, so Dromoka's Command, for example, would be pretty good right
Would
here.
be really nice, yeah.
you know,
Kill your Siege Rhino, 6 you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad. Let's see if he's got it.
The nice thing, though, is Miguel has a number of Crackling Dooms right here. And Crackling Doom a little less good when you're playing against a deck that's going wide. But in Sam's case, and the way this game is developing, he's had big creatures, you know.
Yeah, and I would say that after having watched this Hardened Scales deck quite a bit, more often than not, we've seen it go tall. Like, yeah, sometimes they do have one of those draws. But again, the fact that Hardened Scales exist. Ooh, what is this?
Surge of Righteousness.
Oh, he's got
wow.
Surge. Oh, that worked out well.
Yeah. And I think if you're Miguel, you have to block here, because if it were Dromoka's Command, you would just Sam would
But this is
fight
bad news for Sam. He has no follow-up play here. He's going to get Crackling Doomed
Sam is flooding.
and have nothing left.
Sam is flooding pretty hard. I don't think we've seen anything in his hand. I mean, it's all reactive spells at this point. Another Surge.
Another Surge, yeah. And this is going to get Crackling Doomed right out of there. And that's going to work. And Sam is going to be at square one where. Now, he does have the Hardened Scale, so we've seen explosive possibilities. But, this is starting to become a theme that we see is the Hardened Scales with no friends.
Yeah, the biggest thing I've heard about this deck is that its lack of consistency.
God, I believe that.
Yeah, because you get out the gate sometimes, and it's absurd how fast you go and how strong the deck can be. And then sometimes you have these draws. What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
You can't do anything. Another reactive spell. He just drew Dromoka's Command.
Yeah, and there's so many mediocre draws he can find here. Servant of the Scale, go.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 2/2 or what. That's just not exciting. Here's Kalidas, Trader of Get now for Miguel, and that could be the death knell for Sam unless he can go relevant spell.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he needs to find a Mana Gorge or Hydra or something along those lines, and quickly. So this is going to be Surge of Righteousness is going to take down Kalidas, but he also played a Sylvan Advocate for the turn, so next turn that could be 4 power, and he's even crunching in there for the Shambling Vent as well.
Yeah, I was going to say the other thing not to forget here is that those Shambling Vents, when they animate, if Miguel chooses to do that, those Shambling Vents are going to hit for an extra 2.
If he finds a land. Oh no, he has the land now.
Yeah.
Wow.
it looks like a creature because it's in the battlefield, but he actually just has a
wow.
Yeah.
So this is just a beating.
Yeah. The other problem too for Sam is that Miguel has the Radiant Flames in hand, so he needs to string a couple of things before those creatures get out of range for Radiant Flames, and in the meantime, Miguel could just he's gonna have to play them out. In the meantime, Miguel can just untap Radiant Flames, clear your board again, and his creatures
kill him in 2 turns here.
Yeah.
Right. Just 8/8.
Yeah.
GG. Just get in there. If he does have a land in his hand, I already played one for the turn. All right, crunch. And there's Valorous Stance, which is going to simultaneously kill the Sylvan Advocate and shrink down the Shambling Vent. So that's a big play for Sam.
Yes, that was a big play for Sam. It prevents 4 points of damage, but not just that, it actually slows down his clock significantly. The problem, though, still, Sam has no board, so
God, he just keeps drawing.
he keeps drawing this
Valorous Stance,
and the Shambling Vents gets underneath stance, so it doesn't even help at this point. Oh, another Rhino.
Yeah, that's nice too.
Yikes.
We'll get Valorous Stance, but crunch down to 8.
The maybe third copy of Valorous Stance is what Sam finds.
passes the turn back to Miguel.
He gets to kill the rhino here, but this, you know, like
it's
I
just
said,
slipping away, right?
it's slipping away. He's
also,
just,
he
he's
did
fighting
not activate events here, so he's got something he wants to play. Looks like a
there's a den
maybe an
protector in his.
unoffensa- a den protector.
There's a den
sure.
protector on his hand. There might be an unoffensive too.
Yeah, I like den protector here.
I can see the argument for both, actually.
Just get back
Yeah.
a rhino next turn.
I definitely
next
see the
turn.
argument for both. In one case, you can get the rhino. That's awesome. In another one, you can just put an unoffensa, and unoffensa clocks you pretty hard.
Just drew a Dromica's command.
Did he?
ready. Yeah. Good God. He has not seen a creature in like 5 draw steps now.
Yeah.
Let's see what it is that Miguel wants to get back. You know, he's just going to get back the advocate here.
All right.
He can cast, let's see, is that lethal? Not quite. He can cast the advocate, activate the vents, and get in for 7.
Yeah. I mean, it's so close to
It's
being
close.
lethal, honestly. I think it's fun. I actually like it because
I do too.
now Sam has to deal with both the den protector, the advocate, and the fact that Miguel has 2 shambling vents.
Right,
so
which are lethal.
right.
After
They're
going
going to be lethal on their own. Correct.
Yeah.
So he just closes the window out. I mean,
That's what he's trying to do.
yeah. He's at a point of the game where if he had gone rhino, like, that's fine too.
Yikes.
That's tough. So something that I noticed in Sam's deck and the way he boarded, obviously it's very unfortunate. Look at, you know, his graveyard right now. Stands, righteousness, endless one. You know, he had 1 creature the entire game. But he boarded, all of those cards are not in his main deck. Or, let me see. Yeah, so the stances are on the sideboard.
He's got 1 stance main.
And all the Surge of Righteousness are in the sideboard too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of part of the problem, right? You bring in all these reactive spells, and now you're kind of stuck doing this. Obviously, he needs to draw more creatures, but you can't have these like very clunky draws with Hardened Scales where you have no creatures and you can't really do anything. You're not control deck. You're not winning by just removing your opponent's creatures with stance, you know?
Right. And there's a land off the top for Sam. Terrible draw for Sam
Yeah.
Black. And it looks like Sam was not up a game here, actually, and Miguel was, because he just gave him the handshake, and that means the match is over, in my experience. So it looks like that round, yeah, there we go. So it was actually, yeah, so it was just wrong. It was Miguel who was up a game, and that's going to do it. So that is round 13 here from Houston.